Hello and welcome back to another video. This video will be the Arsenal vs Manchester United preview, and today I'm joined by my good mate Rhys, who is a United fan, so he's going to be representing that half of this match. We're just going to get through a load of things that's on the lead up to this game, talk about form and everything that might come into play when the game starts. So first of all, Rhys, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's in charge. 22nd of December he took over, and you've only lost once since. How do you think it's gone so far since he's been in charge?
Well, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has taken charge, well, so like I say, we're undefeated in the league. I believe it's 2 draws in the league. Overall, the rest have all been wins, and the only loss that we've had under him now doesn't mean anything anyway. Yeah. Because we progressed through to the next round after coming back from a 2-0 aggregate lead that PSG held over us, able to beat them 3-1 at the Park. Thanks. And yeah, no, I think it's going really well, and I'll be very surprised if he doesn't end up getting the full-time job at the end of the season.
It would be an absolute travesty if you didn't get the job after what he's done.
I don't know what else you need to do as a manager to cement your job, to be honest.
Well, we've obviously played each other twice this season already.
Yes.
The 2-2 draw at Old Trafford when Mourinho was in charge. I think we should have won that game. We messed up in defence as usual. And then obviously the other game was the FA Cup tie, where you came to the Emirates and beat us 3-1. Alexis, Lingard and Martial scoring the goals.
Yeah.
I think in that game, the turning point was when we had to substitute Socrates and Koscielny because they both picked up injuries.
Yeah.
And then we were playing with Xhaka in the defence, and it just all went wrong from there.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we go from last game in the league, you beat Southampton 3-2 in a hard-fought victory.
Very hard-fought.
Southampton actually brought the game to you, and at one point I thought that you might have dropped points in that game, but Romelu Lukaku at the end.
Well, Romelu Lukaku, 6 goals, 3 games, undroppable at the moment, realistically. I mean, the thing is as well, I think Romelu Lukaku is starting to actually kind of try and get himself into the form in which where he will cement his place as our central striker. Obviously, Marcus Rashford has been in good form since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's joined, but Lukaku's even had him pushed out to the wing now because can't get ahead of him at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Do you think that if Lukaku does come back in as your striker, would it affect the form of Marcus Rashford? Because since he got moved up front, he's been really good.
Yeah, it would definitely affect the number of goals that he's scoring, because obviously he's not playing as a central striker, which is obviously where he has been thriving in more recent times. But then again, he can play on the wing as well. I wouldn't say that's where he's best utilised, but I mean, it's like we said before, I mean, with the form that Lukaku is in at the moment, you literally can't drop him.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Like 2 goals against Paris Saint-Germain in their own backyard.
Yeah, you can't drop him after that. What kind of message was that sent to him if he gets dropped?
It doesn't matter how well you play, you're not playing the next game.
So Arsenal had a 1-1 draw with Spurs, where Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang missed a 92nd minute penalty.
Chokers.
I think that his confidence is really low right now. Obviously, you've mentioned it in midweek. You were 2-0 down in the Champions League from your home tie against PSG.
Yeah.
Went to Paris, and you took a really, really weak squad.
Yeah.
And I thought that you were going to get destroyed, if I'm honest. And then, obviously, as the game went through, you scored an early goal. Lukaku, as you said, scored the first goal.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you got your hopes up. And then, a few minutes later, Paris were 1-1.
Yeah.
And then, we've got to talk about this second half. So, when the second half started, it was at 1-1. You had a chance. What were you thinking at half-time?
At half-time, if you had told me that it would have been 2-1 at half-time before the game, I would have taken that. Considering I was going into the game, you know, after watching the pre-match conference and everything with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the interviews and that, you know, we had nothing to lose. We were 2-0 down going into the game. It was a case of we had 10 first-team players out, and obviously Paul Pogba was suspended after the late red card that he picked up after the stupid challenge at the end of the home leg. But yeah, I mean, I think even most Man United fans wouldn't have looked at that game actually expecting us to go there and turn over Paris Saint-Germain, who are arguably one of the best teams in Europe right now in terms of what they're doing and the squad that they've got. But you know, as soon as I'll be honest, my heart dropped when that Angel Di Maria goal went in. That was flagged for offside. When that went in, I was like, it's done, it's finished. But you know, I think that's something that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has brought back to Manchester United, which is the traditional never say die attitude and fight all the way through to the last whistle. And you know, by doing so, we had Diogo Dalot had a shot at the end, which I originally thought had gone out for a corner, and I was sitting there going, oh my god, we've got a last minute corner. And then I see the referee running away, and I'm like, oh my god, what's going on? And
yeah, it's definitely a questionable penalty.
It was.
Kimpembe, who was the hero in the first leg, all turned on him in the second leg, turned his back on the ball. The referees obviously thought that his arm was out of his own control as he's turned his back, and he's given the penalty, which nerves are still with Marcus Rashford, 94th minute.
Marcus
20,
Rashford.
was he 21 years old?
Yeah, mate. Oh.
In the Parc des Princes in the Champions League,
Coolest man in the stadium.
Against the legend that was Buffon as well.
I just don't think Buffon is destined to win the Champions League.
I think it's done.
I think it's finished. But
so yeah, that was a good result for you, moving into the next round of the Champions League. Whereas in midweek, Arsenal last night, we're also in France, and we lost 3-1 to Rennes. We started the game positively. We got a goal in the first 5 minutes. Lucky goal. Alex Iwobi went for a cross, but it snuck in at the far post.
Yeah,
but Socrates, the game changed in 60 seconds. Socrates got a second yellow. Stupid challenge. He might have slipped, but you know that if someone's running through after on the counter attack and you take him out, it's going to be yellow when he was already booked. And then from that resulting free kick, I don't know what the guy's name was, but he.
Can we just say, what a finish?
Yeah, the first shot was smashed straight into the wall, but then the second shot, we had 3 Arsenal players turn our backs on it, and it went straight into the goal. So
absolute missile, that shot.
So yeah, Arsenal midweek game wasn't rosy at all. So we can say from that the informed team going into this game are actually Manchester United. As Rhys said earlier, they had a long list of injuries going into that game against Paris Saint-Germain, and they still have some of the injuries. Those include Sanchez, Martial, Mata, Herrera, Lingard, Valencia, Darmian, Matic and Jones. But this morning in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference, he said that Martial is available and Herrera and Matic might also be available as well. So, players coming back at the right time for you then.
I know, Anthony Martial, I've been waiting for a while for that one. But, you know, it's actually funny because you called it before and said, I'm sure he'll be fit for our game.
Yeah, it always happens.
And it turns out he's come out this morning and he said, yeah, he should be fit to play. I mean, in all honesty, I don't reckon he'll start him. I think he's fit to play, but
not the full army.
I reckon just because coming off the back of this quite a serious injury, you know, you don't want to. It's going to be a high intensity game no matter what. I mean, the form does have a big part to play, but Manchester United versus Arsenal is always going to be a high intensity game, but just due to the rivalry that is evident from the past. And I think, I mean, if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would definitely have him on the bench, and you know, I'd carry on. I'd probably play a squad similar to the one that we took to PSG. To be quite frankly honest with you,
Andreas Pereira and Scott McTominay.
I think a lot of players have come in and they're very much so making their mark. I mean, Pereira, he scored that absolutely unbelievable goal against Southampton in the Premier League to to get us back into the game. And then he put in a shift against PSG as well. You know, Fred had a good game against PSG. I personally think so anyway. I mean, you know, might not have
I don't
scored
think Fred will start, if I'm honest. I think Fred only played against PSG because he had to.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think that he won't play in the Premier League, this Premier League game. Although, going away to Paris Saint-Germain, putting in a performance, he might.
Exactly.
Who knows? But Arsenal have obviously had their bad luck with injuries this season. We've known this for a long time, but Welbeck, Holding and Bellerin have all been out for a while. They're all going to be out until at least next season. Well, maybe Welbeck might not even be here next season. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But one other thing that is a big loss is that in the North London derby, right at the end, Torreira got a straight red card, which means he is suspended for the next 3 games. We even tried to appeal it. The FA will have none of it. So Torreira will be missing for this game.
Do you think that was a deserved straight red card? Because I watched that game.
I think that is a bit harsh, because if you think that the challenge was on the player that went studs up into Leno earlier on in the game, which should have been a red, and then for Torreira to go in for a challenge and get the ball, and because Rose arrived late, that's what happened for the follow through to affect Rose. I think it's harsh, but referee made a choice. The FA are never kind to Arsenal anyway, so I wasn't expecting it to get overturned. So it is what it is, and we'll have to hope that the players that we have available can do the job. This is a big game because top 4 is right there. You're a point ahead of us at the moment in 4th, we're in 5th, and as they say, this game's probably a 6-pointer in hypothetical terms, where this game is really important. So, 2 players I want to talk to you about. First, you mentioned it earlier, Lukaku. He's scored 6 goals in the last 3 games, undroppable. But do you think that it's going to be a battle between Lukaku and Lacazette? Because I've got a stat here where it says Lacazette has scored in the last 4 home Premier League games in a row. So, do you think that this game could be based on who's the more clinical striker in the game?
I think yes. Only to the point that obviously Manchester United have David De Gea in goal. You know, the one and only.
Yeah, I remember that from last season.
Exactly. How many saves did he make? Like 15 saves or something ridiculous like that. Exactly. So, you know, I mean, you know, Leno as well, he is a very good goalkeeper. You know, he made an absolute blinding save in the Tottenham game when what was it? It was Eriksen's volley, and then fucking
the follow-up from Sissoko.
Yeah, Sissoko, exactly. Tips over the bar. I mean, the man said himself he didn't know what was going on, but he was still able to save it. So you know, but I mean, if we're going in terms of the form of the actual strikers, I'd say we probably have a slight edge, considering that 6 goals in 3 games. You know. That says a lot, getting 2 braces as well involved in that. So, I'm not sure, but Lacazette always seems to have good games against us, I find. And
he's a big game player.
He is, definitely. And after what I saw in yesterday's game for Arsenal, I don't think he'll play Aubameyang.
No, I think that he will be
after that
on the bench, and then if we need him.
I think missing that penalty against Tottenham definitely has not done him any favours.
No, not at all. Right, so now, before we get our predictions in, I'm going to ask you, what do you think your predicted lineup will be? You can either go for what you would want or what you think Solskjaer's going to do. Which one do you want?
I'll go for what I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's going to do.
Okay, right.
Okay, I reckon, off of what I've said, obviously we're going to have David De Gea in goal.
Yeah, that's obvious.
That's just a write-off. I reckon Luke Shaw's going to play left back. Then I reckon we'll have Smalling and Lindelof as our centre-back pairing. And we'll probably have Ashley Young out on the right. Obviously we'll have players like Dalot on the bench in case if subs needed and whatnot.
Yeah.
In midfield, I reckon
Would it be a 4-3-3 or...?
I reckon it'll be a 4-3-3. Okay. And I reckon if they are fit enough, we'll probably start Herrera well, like, obviously he said that they might be fit to play. If they are fit, I would, well, this is going off a little bit, in this position I would probably play Herrera, Matic and Pogba in the midfield, you know, have it as we did before. And then I'd play Lukaku down the middle. That, in my mind, that's just a signed, sealed, delivered thing, because he's not going to get dropped after what he's done recently.
Yeah.
I reckon we'll play Rashford out on the left. But, who might play on the right?
It might have to be Andreas Pereira.
It could be Pereira. No, you are right.
Because Matt is injured.
Matt is injured.
You think that Martial won't be ready for full 90?
I don't think it will go one of two ways for Martial, in my opinion. Either he'll play him at the start and take him off relatively early into the second half, or it'll be the complete opposite and he won't play
last
him,
20, just
and
go
he'll bring
for
him in for the last 20. I mean, I think it all kind of, in terms of substitutes and whatnot, I think it all kind of depends on how the game is going at the time.
Yeah.
You know, obviously.
Right, and for my predicted lineup for the Arsenal side, I think that we should go with almost the exact same side that played last week away to Tottenham. So we'll have Leno in goal, and we'd have Socrates and Koscielny as the centre-back pairing. Monreal will be at left-back, but here at right-back, Mustafi, I don't want him in there. I don't. He gave away the penalty, even though it was offside. It's still a clumsy challenge. When Kane's at that angle, he can't really score a header from there when Leno's guarding his near post. So because of, you know, that he's got a mistake in him, I don't really want Mustafi playing. I think I would go at right back with Stefan Lichtsteiner.
I mean, he is experienced.
He's experienced, but
he is a bit questionable.
With some of the pace that United have got, bear in mind this would be against Marcus Rashford, we would need a lot of protection from the guy that plays in front of him.
Exactly.
But so for us, I think we'll go with a 4-2-3-1, and the two behind the four centre back, or in front of the four centre backs, would be Granit Xhaka, who had a really good game against Tottenham, and Matteo Guendouzi. Now, when Guendouzi played against Tottenham, I thought it would be a mismatch, but he played well. Whereas on Thursday night, he didn't really have a great game against Rennes. So we obviously have to expect that because he's a 19-year-old. It's his first season in the Premier League. We just have to stick by him and support him. And in this game, I think that if he is on form, he could help us create more forward passes and stuff, because he's the one player that always looks forward when he has the ball. He always wants to drive with it and get into the space. So, yep, I'd have him in there. And then the three in front of those, I'd go with Alex Iwobi on the left, because he's in good form, played good in the North London derby, also provides good defensive cover for Monreal at times. I'd have Mkhitaryan on the right, which is the position he played against Spurs, and he was excellent. Up the field, down the field, helping out the defence, creating chances going forward. He's been on great form recently, and since he's come back from his injury, I can't fault the guy. Last night he was a bit quiet, but really the whole team didn't perform that well. But on this game, I will go for Mkhitaryan on the right, and then number 10 role, I would go with Aaron Ramsey. Last week, his performance against Tottenham proves to me that he still is playing for Arsenal. He's playing for the badge, and I know that Ozil's had good games against Manchester United in the past, but I think that something that worked so well last week away from home could work even better at home with our own fans supporting us. And if we need to bring on Ozil, then we can do later on in the game. And then up front, I'm going to go with Alexandre Lacazette, because he is the guy that I think can do the job in this game. He had a few chances against Tottenham last week, and I know that he was angry with himself because he knows that he should have scored a few of them. Aubameyang's confidence is rock bottom at the moment, so there's no way that I think that he will start the game. I think that if needed, he can come off the bench in the last 20 minutes, considering on how the game's going. But for this game, I'll go with Lacazette up front. So we've given our predicted lineups and we've spoken in depth about the game. One last thing I need from you. Your score prediction. Now, this is the part where you could get it spot on or you could be embarrassed by what you think is going to happen. So let's see, what score prediction do you think?
I reckon we'll beat you 2-0.
You're going for a clean sheet at the Emirates?
Yeah.
Wow.
I reckon we'll beat you 2-0.
Wow, he's gone for 2-0 to United.
Because, I mean, as long as Eric Bailly is not playing as in our centre-back role, or a makeshift right-back, God, never let that happen again, then the defence that we've had recently has actually been really informing my opinion. Even Chris Smalling's been playing really well in his defensive role, and I think him and Lindelof have a little bit of a partnership going on at the moment, to be quite frankly honest. I think that, on top of that, the reason I think 2-0 and I'm keeping the clean sheet as well, not biased, but obviously if I'm kind of going off of form as well, obviously the morale in the Arsenal camp right now isn't going to be very high at all, because obviously you've got a 1-1 draw against your biggest rivals, which you're all going to feel like you should have won with that last minute penalty. Then you went 1-0 up in the Europa League, you know, everything was going fine, and then all of a sudden you find yourselves 3-1 down. And obviously, Matt, this is a bit off topic, but can I just remind you that when we finished our game against PSG, when we won 3-1, we had 3 teenagers on the pitch.
Yeah, but that's not going to be the case this weekend.
It's not, but like, you know, I mean, I think our camp in particular is going to be absolutely buzzing after that, and I think there'll be. I think if there was a top 16 that I could choose to play right now, it'd be Arsenal.
Fair enough, that's your opinion. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win. I think that it's been shown many occasions this season that Emery has the tools to motivate the team after a bad performance. Yeah. We used to bounce back, but this season I think we've bounced back quite a few more times than before. I think that after last week in general, we would want to put in a good performance after everybody knows that we should have won that game. And then obviously with the game in midweek as well, that didn't really go to plan. Hopefully the players are going to want to show up and give the Arsenal fans something to be proud about. Sure. So yeah, 2-1 for me, you saying 2-0 to United. It's going to be a very good game this weekend.
It's going to be tasty.
I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also a little bit nervous. But that's it for this video. The preview's now wrapped up. We're going to do a combined 11 from this game, players from both teams. I'm sure there'll be a lot of debate about that. Look out for that video. So the preview's done. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.